And we are live, or I am live. If anybody is even out there, don't know if anybody's there yet. Can you see me? Can you hear me? You know the routine. Talking today, of course, about the Haslab Cobra HISS tank project. Just wanted to, give perspective on it because I've seen two types of videos on it so far. So who's out there? Anybody? Can you hear me? Does it sound right? Just been waiting for responses. I see that D. Dow and the artist formerly known as Jesse Say What were here. I don't know if they still are. So for all intents and purposes, I'm talking to myself at the moment while I wait for verification. So how's it going? Anybody there? I know it's Saturday, just before the 4th of July, too, so it's probably not the best time for a live stream anyways. But we will see what we will see. And just a few points. Oh, there's Joseph Grundy. Hello. How's the audio and the visual? And it doesn't look like it's tracking too badly. Sometimes there's a lot of skipping, especially when the video first starts. YouTube has a lot of problems. But just wanted to share some opinions on the Haslab project. And of course, it's all opinion at this point because there is no actual physical HISS tank yet. If you go to the Hasbro Pulse website, to their Haslab, and you look at the pictures, those are all computer-generated renderings. There is no actual HISS tank, except for the prototype. And we've seen the prototype, it's just a big green blob. Gray, rather. It's all gray because they just pressed something off. They 3D printed it or something. They don't have molds yet because they're not going to bother doing that until they reach their first goal, which they've already done. So who's out there today? Oh, and LPH is not here. LPH is not here today. She is visiting with her parents over the 4th of July weekend. And I stayed here because I have way too much to do. But I had enough time to sit here and run my mouth. There's Johnny Future. He's on his phone typing with my lone thumb. Okay. So I've seen basically, and again, like I said, there is no actual HISS tank except for the prototype, which is very likely 3D printed because they don't have molds yet. They haven't gone to tool and die because they hadn't been backed when they filmed their gray rendition of the HISS tank, the roughly 1/12 scale because it's designed to accommodate classified figures. And all of the images that you will see on Hasbro Pulse are computer-generated images. They're not, they look convincing enough, but there's no figure, there's no tank, not yet. There will be now because it already reached its funding goal. Unlike the Star Wars project that they have up, that lightsaber, Reba's lightsaber, which is $500, and I think there's better part of a week left on it, maybe 9 days. It has a goal of a minimum of 5,000 backers, and I think it currently has a hair over 1,300. So no takers on that one. That's their second Star Wars Hasbro Pulse Haslab offering fail, because obviously the first one was the Rancor monster, and I think part of the problem with the Rancor monster, the Rancor monster wasn't that bad, but it was too much at once. They had 3 Haslab projects going at the same time, and all 3 of them, well, 2 of them looked like they were going to fall through. The Proton Pack did really well, even though it wasn't going to get a wand. So that the Rancor project fell. Maybe if they waited at least until Mandalorian came out, it would have made more sense, and then they kind of might have gotten that one funded. But there's a lot of speculation there. But right now we're on the HISS tank, and the 2 types of videos that I've seen are the people that are falling out all over the place, weeping and crying about how fantastic it is that they're doing it. Oh, these are the guys who are going to get the early bird, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and they'll do a review, and that review is going to be very one-sided when they do get it, because that's how those reviews are. You can't trust reviews anymore, for the most part. Haven't seen any new Star Wars stuff. Okay. But that's how these reviews are anymore, where you they hand them off to people that they know are going to give the response that they want. And you can still listen. Okay. All right, Johnny. But they're gonna give the review that Hasbro wants them to give. They're not going to act disappointed if something is wrong. You're going to get very few honest reviews anymore. The other review discussions that I've been seeing are people panning the project. Are they kidding? They can't put this in stores. $300 for a HISS tank? Are they out of their minds? Nobody's going to pay $300 for a HISS tank. I guess they already screwed up that prediction because they've passed their funding goal. But a lot of complaining about that. Oh, who cares? Bells and whistles. It's got some lights. So what? And I kind of agree with that, because lights and sounds on a toy never really impressed me, even when I was a kid. But it's got light up features. I don't think it has sounds. The treads do work, but it was unrealistic to think that people wouldn't pay $300 for this thing, for a variety of reasons. First of all, take a look at the Thunder Tank from Super 7. What was that, 450? 450, I believe, for the Thunder Tank. It got funded. And the window opened and closed. A lot of them were ordered. Super 7's making them $450. Of course, the Thunder Tank's a lot larger, because I think they designed it to accommodate, 6 figures. But so it's more to scale than was the LJN Thunder Tank. But if they're willing to pay $450 plus for the Thunder Tank, they'll pay $300 for his tank. And of course, if you break through tiers, you get more. So they add to it. It doesn't just come with a figure. As a matter of fact, and a lot of the people that were complaining about it, they were like, oh, it only just comes with one figure, and he only has the 2 guns and hand change outs, and who cares about that? The original HISS tank, I don't think the driver came with anything, did he? I don't remember, but I don't think the driver came with even a rifle with the original HISS tank. I can't recall. I don't have mine anymore. I no longer have a HISS tank. Secondly, this is the only way you're going to get a vehicle in this scale, aside from the Ram cycle, and you're lucky to get that. They keep making motorcycles. They keep repainting that Ram cycle. I think there's 2 variations, right? There's the Kibby version with that comes with the figure, and then there's going to be the Tiger Force version that's going to come with Duke. So the Ram cycle is the only vehicle that they were going to put out. They didn't want to invest in tool and die on a vehicle that scale and then just have it sit on the shelves and be pig warmers, because that's dangerous. That's the death of any toy line, is if the shelves are clogged with them and it ends up on clearance. If toys end up on clearance too often, they start reducing their orders, and eventually they'll cut you out altogether, which is happening to Funko Pop now, by the way. Funko Pop has reached that point. If you recall, there was a time where you could go into FYE and they'd have 40 feet of shelf space dedicated to Pops. How much is there now? 10? Or GameStop used to have almost a whole half of a wall Funko Pops at one point, plus end caps. Now it's like a 5-foot gondola. So too many times that stuff ended up on clearance and they didn't want to deal with it. It's hard to move that stuff after a while, especially since it's only targeted at the adult audience. So they were like, hey, and this is the way to go, quite frankly, in my opinion. This is the way to go, is to make projects like this, because that way whoever wants one can get it if it gets funded. If it gets funded. I'd rather see it like this. At least if I want a HISS tank, I can jump on before the window closes and get one. Unlike Target with their what was it, Cobra Island exclusives. Between the Cobra Island exclusives, the convention exclusives, and what was the other thing they did? The repaints. The repaints on the first 5 figures that they released, I was done with Hasbro classifieds. Because I liked the figures. I liked the figures. I was like, oh, this is cool, whatever. But all of that artificial demand, and it's something I've talked about a lot on this channel. And I pick on Funko a lot when I talk about it because Funko really has the, hey, Kentucky Mud, thanks for joining us. Because Funko is really good at that artificial demand model. And the artificial demand model works with store and convention exclusives, chases, and repaints, because people who are completists will bend over backwards to try to get all those pieces. Hasbro does it too. Most of these toy companies making figures, especially for the adult market, do this kind of stuff. Hasbro did it too. Oh, the first 5 figures were the wrong color scheme. Oh, we'll repaint them and sell them to you again. And everybody, what did they do? They bought them. They bought another set of Wave 1, painted correctly. That was convenient. Basically, that's like new Coke. And that's something I have extensive knowledge on, unfortunately, from having worked at Frito-Lay, because they're owned by PepsiCo. PepsiCo loves the fact that with the artificial demand model, again, Coca-Cola blew it by going too far in the 80s with their new Coke and then switching to classic Coke. They were, hey, Lynx, thanks for joining us. They put that crappy new Coke out, took their regular version off the shelves. Everybody hated it, and it was supposed to make them want the classic more, and they were going to make more money. And it backfired because the consumers got pissed off. And PepsiCo made a fortune during those few years in that time period. They were able to buy Frito-Lay. They were able to buy Taco Bell and Kentucky Fried Chicken and Minute Maid. Or no, was it Tropicana? I think it was Tropicana. D Dow pre-ordered 5 of them. Hey, there you go. And Fractured, hey man, hope you're well. Are you thinking of backing the HISS tank Haslab? I'm on the fence about it. You knew I was going to say that, didn't you? Because I gave up on the classifieds, and that's what we were talking about right just now. The artificial demand model pissed me off the way that they did it. They reissued the first 5 figures by repainting them. The Target exclusives, you couldn't find them, and that's a huge problem nowadays with all of these toy companies with the store exclusives. You can't get them. You can't get them. And I was like, I'm never going to find these Cobra Island figures unless I buy them aftermarket. I don't want to pay 3, 4, 5 times the price for the damn things. Back in the day, when they had an exclusive, when they had a toy exclusive, like KB toy stores did a lot of Toy Biz X-Men and Marvel figure exclusives. But if you went into any KB, they had 100 of them, easy. They had tons of them. Now they trickle them down, and they do it on purpose. It's part of the artificial demand model. It's supposed to frustrate you, and through that frustration, force an interest. But it works too well, and it can backfire. The convention exclusives too. I'll never track down a convention exclusive for a decent price. Yeah, Lynx, I miss KB too. That was the last of the real toy stores. It really was. But you know, as we trail off in the discussion there, but the artificial demand model being presented by Hasbro is what pissed me off and turned me off. I was like, you know, okay, you're doing too much. This is like Funko Pops here with the store exclusives and the convention exclusives and the repaints, and I can't find them. And you keep cranking them out in your show. You got prototypes for the next 3 years. Hasbro already admitted that. They got prototypes all the way into like almost 2026, I think. And you're going to keep cranking those out. Yeah, Johnny says the resellers loved it. Yeah, they sure did. Suncoast, I remember Suncoast video. But that artificial demand model just overdid it for me. I was like, all right, I have to stop. And I took what few classifieds I could find and packed them up and put them away. And they were in a tote somewhere. With the HISS tank, I like the HISS tank. I like the way it looks. I like the idea. I like the idea of it. And again, there was a lot of naysayers. There were a lot of negative videos, sitting there saying, oh, that's bullshit. Nobody's going to pay $300 for a HISS tank. Yeah, the hell they will. Not only have they paid $300 for the HISS tank, but they've unlocked 3 tiers. Because there's actually 5, not 4. And I think this is something a lot of people didn't realize first off, was because every video I saw complaining about it, it said, oh, well, who's going to get a HISS tank and a driver for $300? No, there's 2 figures. Did anybody realize that? There's not 1. You get 2 figures on the first tier. There's 5 tiers, not 4. The first tier was the hidden tier. If they reached their initial goal of 8,000 backers before July 6th. Hey, Gilgamesh. Hey, JG. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, D-Dow says cleaned out local Target store. Most of the Motu Origins for half off for clearance. I even got Castle Grayskull for $39. Shit, there you go. And Robert says, hey, where's LPH? LPH is visiting with her parents. She's going to be gone for a couple of days at her parents' house. Yeah, Lynx. I still have. I don't think I have anything left because remember I had a huge collection that was stolen, so I don't have a whole hell of a lot left over for my KB toys. Gilgamesh, you get the HISS tank. Everybody keeps asking me. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do it. And I was explaining that I was still so disenfranchised with all the games from Hasbro with the classifieds in the first place. I stopped trying to get them. So I only have a handful, and I packed them up and put them away. They're in a tote in storage. So I'm like, do I want it? I like it. Will I get it? And going back in here again, before I lose my train of thought, there was actually 2 figures with that HISS tank. If you backed it, if it reached 8,000 by July 6th, which it did. So there will be 2 figures. So that's 5 tiers, not 4. And the second the second figure is a techno officer, Cobra technical officer, which is a figure that apparently they have not made before. So it's a new figure. And because they got their goal, they got 8,000 before the 6th, there will be 2 figures coming with it. Then the 10,000? The 10,000 tier already unlocked, which it turned out to be 2 pods that attached to the side of the HISS tank, like rocket pods, which is kind of lame, but whatever. But also the second tier, the second official tier, already unlocked because they passed 12,000 this morning. They already passed 12,000 this morning. It hasn't even been a week, and they're halfway through their tiers. So you got 3 unlocks, and Hasbro, they Dow says last tier unlocks the Hooded Cobra Commander. That could be, but I'm not sure what's next. They haven't shown what the second unlock is, but I'm pretty sure they'll hit 3 and 4 pretty easy and keep going. A lot of people are going to want to order all 5 for a variety of reasons. They're going to go for 5. Johnny wants to know if I'm going to get the Evil Complete Cycle set reissue. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to. And it's the second time they've reissued it, haven't they? Because they already made one a few years ago. I think that's the second reissue. But no, I'm not going to get the reissue. Robert says HISS tanks are meh. I like the normal HISS tank, and isn't that Sky Striker supposed to be out already? If you're going to do something grand, how about the USS flag with light sounds figures? Yeah, that thing. How much would that be? Like $3,000? You'd probably be cheaper to buy a new one. We were speculating on that with the Terradrome. You see, I got my Terradrome set up here, finally. But if they were to do a Terradrome nowadays, large enough and in scale, how much would that cost? How much was the Snake Mountain from Super 7? Like, what was it, $750 plus the postage? Wow. I mean, really. But yeah, he's not too thrilled with the HISS tank. I understand. Yeah. D-Mum cardboard backdrop and a bag of bones. That's part of what blew it for the Rancor monster. Gilgamesh says, I'm on the fence about getting it myself. With 2 figures, it makes it a lot more tempting. If one of the other tiers is a 3rd figure, I'll get it for sure. And that helps a lot. That helps to entice you a lot. That's why I was saying the 2 rocket pods that connect to the side being the first official tier was just like, take it or leave it. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's very impressive. But the fact that there was actually a 2nd secret figure that has been unlocked makes it a little more tempting. Okay, you're going to get 2 figures. One of them is one that's not been ever done before. Robert says, how about doing something cheap like a 6-set Trouble Bubbles? That'd be interesting. Do you like the paint scheme? I think the paint scheme is all right. The red on black looks good. Not impressed at all with the lighting. That all things light up and it projects this light, this Cobra symbol light. Again, I've never really found that particularly fascinating, even as a kid, with lights and sounds on a toy. It's like big deal. They can put lights on anything now that the electronics are so micro, so tiny. I've got Mezco figures with light up eyes and stuff. It doesn't seem like it's that interesting. Plus, you can't have it on all the time. The batteries will just freaking die. How many tiers could there be? There was 5. Basically, they usually do 4, but there was a hidden tier on this one. Again, for those who might be just joining us, if it was funded before July 6th, they had a secret tier of an additional figure that would be added with the HISS tank, regardless of whether the other goal tiers were met or not. D. Dow says that the price is going to go up as soon as the campaign ends, and it could be, and that also could be why a lot of people are buying in 5. I know there's a lot of people that like to army build, and that's fine. It look cool to have a row of HISS tanks if you do loose figures, but a lot of people are speculating it's going to go up, because some of their other projects have gone up quite a bit, like the sail barge and Unicron, and what was that other one? The Sentinel has gone up. So yeah, some people might be looking at it as an investment. But if too many people are buying it only as an investment, then after it peaks, it's gonna bottom out. Kentucky says, I wish they'd make other Cobra Troopers Vipers like the Desert Viper or Snot Viper. Okay. Link says, went to FYE 2 months ago. They removed mostly their electronics. Is just pop culture. Don't mind, but too expensive. And a lot of the stuff is because it's directed at the adult collectors market. Us, they know that we'll scrimp and save and come up with the money, and they want that money. Hey, Stone Sour, there you are. Thanks for joining us. Wow, you missing the meat of the conversation here, buddy. But Robert says if they're going to do the HISS tank, make it a remote control. And Fractured says, I'm looking forward to the vintage collection Boba Fett's throne room from Hasbro. Okay, I remember the throne room. And D. Munn says, I actually backed it for the nostalgia, still have the original, and Pilot didn't come with accessories. I didn't think so. I didn't remember. Gilgamesh, honestly, I prefer smaller things that they could mass market, like the bunkers and mobile artillery they did in the original line. Okay, I understand. Where I think they missed the mark. Again, I don't like the first tier unlock. I don't think it's the 2 rocket pods that go on the side. It's nothing that I recall ever being associated with the HISS tank. And I'm just like, take it or leave it. I don't think that was a good tier choice. I think your first tier unlock should be something a little bit more spectacular to entice people to keep going. They're like, oh, wow, you got this? That's cool. What else is available? You can okey doke them later. That's part of what killed the Rancor, was the cardboard backdrop being one of the first tiers. And then they try to salvage it by giving you the Rancor Keeper figure, throwing it in, no matter whether they hit their stretch goals or not. And then everybody was like, too little, too late. Where I think they made a mistake is I would have liked to have seen it motorized, because they could have done it. They could have made it motorized. I don't think it would have been that hard. Hell, add an extra $20, and that's why I put this out. Like the original Mobat or the Mauler, And it's so simple. I don't think there's batteries in it right now, but this one does work. This is functional. But even if it's something as simple as a toggle switch, you know, it doesn't have to be remote or anything. You know, something as simple as a toggle switch so that the tank can drive. You know, the action figure photographers would love that. It wouldn't have cost that much for them to make that adjustment. The vehicle's big enough. I would have preferred to see that as opposed to all the lights and everything. I think that that was a missed opportunity on the part of Hasbro to not think of that, because usually at least the treads do turn. The wheels and treads do turn, so you can push the HISS tank along on the ground, but it will not roll on its own. And keeping in mind, of course, that a lot of G.I. Joe's vintage vehicles, they okie doke you on the treads. Let me grab something here real quick and I'll show you. See, most of the vintage vehicles did something like this, where it has the just a plastic piece, and then they put these little fake wheels underneath, and that's how it works. So at least it actually has real legitimate treads instead of doing something like that. Even my mobile command center has wheels like this, and that's a huge piece. And I'm like, oh, that's so cheap, Hasbro, what the hell? But so, like I said, I'm glad to see them with treads. They did the same thing with the Thunder Tank Super 7. Those treads are functional, but they're not motorized. And in this day and age, making the components small enough isn't that hard anymore. Dow says this is probably the largest vehicle available in the classifieds line. I can't think of anything larger than that size of a tank that would make sense. Yeah, and it is it is going to be the largest vehicle in the classifieds line, and it's probably the only way you're going to get a vehicle. Like I said earlier, they have done a couple of versions. They've done a couple of versions of the Ram cycle, but you're not going to get anything bigger than that. They don't want to invest the money in it. They don't want to go to tool and die and then have it sit on the shelves and then have it end up on clearance, especially if it's going to be an expensive piece. It's just not economically viable for the company to try to do that. Dow says, I still have my original mobile command center in Night Raven, and they take up a huge amount of shelf space. Yeah, mine is over here in the corner. And I'll show you. So there's the mobile command center. And it's in pristine condition. It's fantastic. But it's also very fragile. If I pick it up, things fall off of it. And the wheels are fake. It's like fake little wheels underneath there. And I always thought that was just really cheap of Hasbro to have those little phony wheels. But and again, I think it's a missed opportunity that they did not give it actual treads. I would have rather see a functional moving vehicle rather than light up panels. You know. Let me see. Yeah, everybody's talking about them trouble bubbles now. That might be a vehicle that's small enough that they could make it without having to go to Haslab. Actually, one of those bubbles in like a 12th scale. I think they could do that, and they should go back to design. They should open up a few of these catalogs. Hasbro, go back to spec, open up a few of these vintage catalogs like this, right? And just take a look at some of those old vehicles, some of the smaller sets, because the reason that vehicles like that were made in the first place was they made vehicles in different tiers for satisfying different price points of people who could afford whatever they could afford. You can't afford something like that Terradrome? Well, we got something else for you. Basically. See, Hasbro could make Serpentor with his sled in the price point of probably the same thing as Breaker in the Ram cycle, because it's about the same amount of material for his air chariot, and people would eat it up. I think that would sell on the shelves. Of course, they would screw it up by making it like a Target exclusive or something, and then you'll never find it except on eBay. But that's, I mean, that's just an idea, throwing it out. Not that Hasbro's ever going to see this video, but that's why they made stuff like this. You didn't have the money for this? Sorry, Jimmy, I don't have $30 for a Mobat, but I got $7.99 to buy this piece. And they could make smaller scale vehicles, but nobody is thinking of this. Hasbro's certainly not thinking of it. They've got all these great franchises. They haven't thought of it with Star Wars. Star Wars did the same thing. Kenner, they made small, medium, and large vehicles and play sets. Why? Because the price points would attract different demographics of audiences based on what they afford. Can't afford the Millennium Falcon? Okay, how about a land speeder? It's small. And for the Star Wars Black Series, they could do something like that. A small vehicle like the land speeder. And I bet you people would buy it. Let me see. Guy, you guys are still on that trouble bubble. If anyone remember the Devilfish, Joe's Orange Boats, I'd like them to do that. It's one of the few original vehicles I still have. Yeah, and I think you just saw it in the catalog there, didn't you? Hank says, do you think we might ever get an AWE Striker for the classified figures that could be sold on the shelf? No. I don't think so. I don't think they want to put anything big on the shelf, Hasbro, because they're worried about it being a shelf warmer. And again, that's the death of any toy line. If it sits on the shelves and stores have to keep putting stuff on clearance, eventually they're going to move away from you. They're going to buy less of your product. They're going to trust you less. They don't want to waste their time. There are no actual toy stores anymore, per se. It's a toy department in a big box store. They can't be sitting on that stuff. They've got to move it. How much crap, especially look at how much Marvel Legends stuff ended up on clearance. Look at how much of that stuff ended up on clearance in the last year or so, because they invested in figures that nobody wanted. Plus, the prices are going up. Yeah, Dow says that command center was a great place. At the triple stack levels are awesome, and I have the G.I. Joe Dune buggy parked at the bottom. Okay. My friend Whitey, I had the Devilfish 2 along with Spirit and Zartan. My mom wouldn't let me get much G.I. Joe because I already had a lot of He-Man and Thundercats. Well, they're physically incompatible anyways because they're in 3 different scales. But G.I. Joe was one of my favorites growing up. The thing that attracted me to it the most was the articulation. These figures had a lot of articulation, so it felt like you could do a lot more with them than you could with, say, a He-Man figure that had like 5 points, and 2 of those points were wonky because of that rubber extension joint. You know what I mean? Plus, there were a lot of other figures in this scale. Star Wars figures were in this scale. Fisher-Price Adventure People were in this scale. Who else? There was a lot. The Migos, the original Migos, if you recall, was the design for Star Wars. Grab something here. This was copied to create G.I. Joe. The Migo body design was essentially copied. The concept was copied for the original G.I. Joe body designs. So there was a lot of figures in this scale. Star Wars set the precedence for figures in that scale, but Fisher-Price Adventure People did it first. Oh, thank you. Stone Sour says your new Terradrome is a beauty. Yes, indeed. Um, and it turned out to be in really great shape after I got it cleaned up and everything. There's only one broken piece, and you'll never find it. It's the tab that the gas hose connects to inside one of the bays is broken, and that's all I can find. So I don't know what this guy was talking about upgrading. There is a little bit of a warping that looks like a factory error on the ring around the port that opens up for the fire bat to escape, and maybe that was his issue. I don't know. Oh, thank you, JG. JG donated $1.99, and it will go to pet supplies because of all the strays we take care of. Who was watching the roundup? You see those two babies that we found? Good Lord. Let me try to catch up here a little bit. Links, what about retro Nintendo toys used to have? Nintendo toys? Just video game systems is all I had. Black Series, did they ever do a hover bike? That seems like it would sell easy. Yeah, even Hot Toys made the hover bikes. You mean this one, or you mean speeder bike? Like that? Hot Toys made this. Hasbro could make one for Black Series size figures, and it wouldn't cost much. Make one that comes with the Stormtrooper. They could put it out at a $50 price point, like they did with the with Breaker and the Ram Cycle. It could be done if anybody cared to, but this is where you get jaded. All of these toy companies, including Hasbro, what does it say on Hasbro Pulse's page? You open it up, what does it say about collectors? Because they all have a slogan: "By collectors, for collectors," where fans come first. I think that's Hasbro's, isn't it? Where fans come first. They all tell you that, but it's a lie. They're in business to make money. They don't care about you. But also, neither do they often listen to you. And that's the issue. There's some great ideas out there. These are things that they could do. Like I said, they could do a classified Serpentor. See Serpentor back there? They could do a classified Serpentor with an air chariot in the same price point as with the Ram Cycle figures, and it would sell. People would buy that. That's very nostalgic. They could do Zartan with his swamp skier. They don't even need to make the little basket and all the stuff that came with the original one. They could make the tiny one, the swamp skier. It'd probably be about so big, right? And make Zartan. $45, $50 price point, same as the Ram Cycle. They would sell that. That would sell out. Robert says someone on YouTube should do new toy commercials with catchy jingles. Yeah, no kidding. And Demon, people did the Black Series Land Speeder and the Black Series Snow Speeder. Black Series TIE Fighter became a shelf warmer. Okay. Let's see, Dow, I have a complete Cobra hydrofoil, and it was a huge vehicle, and even a 375. Yeah, the hydrofoil is a nice vehicle, actually. I know the one you're talking about. Gilgamesh, I don't even see Marvel Legends in my store anymore. Haven't for months now. I guess stores got tired of losing money on them, and that very likely could be. That's something I've talked about a lot with the Funko Pops, because I get on Pops a lot, and it's nothing personal against anybody who likes Funko Pops. People think that I'm attacking them. I'm not, but I recognize and understand the business models all too well. And Funko has seriously overdone it with Pops. They might be at the end of the Pop era here. We might be seeing the end of where they're just flooding the market with Pops anymore, because they're not selling. And that's why I made that point. You used to see huge sections. FYE used to have 40, 50 feet of shelf space of gondolas filled with Pops and like stacked 4 or 5 deep. How many are there now? A 10-foot wall section? They won't buy them in that kind of bulk anymore because they can't get rid of them. I know a guy who owns a Pop store, and he's had to, actually 2, Plastic Empire, and what was the name of the other Pop store? Stuck in Time. And both of them started off as exclusively pop stores, and they've had to diversify because they've got too much. The guy at Stuck in Time told me his whole basement at the store is filled with pops that won't sell because the bulk orders that he has to buy. People don't want them. People don't want them anymore. They want the old stuff. They want the stuff from before 2015. And it's getting harder and harder. My son, who owns in Illinois, Nerdtastic Plastic, he won't even take the pops to conventions anymore. He used to sell a lot of them. And I asked him about that, a couple of months back. How's it going with the pops? Because I've been seeing in his pictures when he posts on his Facebook and stuff and his Instagram that the pops, he doesn't have them. And I'm like, what's going on with that? And he's like, I don't bring them anymore. I can't get rid of the damn things anymore. It's just bottomed out. You push the artificial demand model too much, they get tired of it. The buyers get tired of it. Collectors get tired of it. But then retailers are stuck with it. Big box store retailers, they can afford to walk away. They can reduce your shelf space. They can push you in the corner. They can stop buying it. They can cut back. And I think that's what's happening also with the Legends figures. And there is Kragan. Good afternoon. There is an AAWE Striker coming from Flame Toys. It's a model kit. Not sure if it's going to be a retail, but in the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and their motorcycles are a Target. Okay. And D-Mun, Buck Rogers MASH, Battlestar Galactica are all on that scale as well. That is correct. And Stone Sour donated $2 to the Kitten Fund. Thank you very much. That's my wife trying to message me. I better let her know. Okay. But yeah, thank you, Stone Sour. And again, thank you, JG, for the donation. And you saw the babies probably on the last roundup video that we put out. Actually, it went up yesterday. Punisher, there you are. Punisher XS is here. And Robert, hate saying it, but I love to buy a 3-inch MASH Hawkeye or Love Boat Isaac. A lot of people like that Isaac now. That's one of Mego's big mistakes back in the day, because people pick on Mego for making dumb figures now when they made like Facts of Life figures and stuff, and people are like, what the hell are you doing? Mego always did that crap. They made Love Boat figures. Come on, think about it. They made Laverne and Shirley figures. What 6-year-old do you think wanted to play with Laverne and Shirley and a Lenny and Squiggy figure? Do you remember that? Look here. How many kids do you think were running out to buy this off the shelf? And they are ugly. Some of the ugliest action figures you'll ever see. Well, I guess these are technically dolls, but the boys are action figures. Because they did do Lenny and Squiggy. See? Mego always did that kind of crap. They're always making this kind of stuff. But now it makes sense because people our age are looking for this stuff. But back then it made no sense at all. But yeah, who was that? TriStar? I think TriStar made the MASH figures. There's Wheels of Chaotic Doom. The Haslab Dreadnought Thunder Machine. That might be interesting. And wet and windy Sydney, Australia. Raining out there, good wheels. Yeah, 2014 Aeropops links. That's correct, because they started making them in 2010, and they were originally supposed to be plush, not vinyl. But somebody got the idea these would probably look better in vinyl. Let's test it. and it 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 was selling, but interest didn't pop off until 2015. So it was in the market for about 5 years. Then in 2015, they started mass producing them because they started to really move in the retailers. So they've really only been popular for about 7 years. So not as long as people think. That's also where the Thai comparison comes in too, because Thai started making them in 19 started making Beanie Babies in 1986. They didn't get popular until 91, 92, and then interest dropped off by the year 2000, and they just kind of faded away. Robert says, what's worse, what retailer do? Hey, you bought $10 worth merchandise. Here's a free Funko Pop. Yeah, I know. They may as well start giving them away. And Johnny, I have a local store where 75-80% of his store is Funko Pops. I hope he diversifies more. He might be stuck going forward. You can only sell Pops for so long, and that was the thing. And that's why, I've heard people make the argument, they get upset with me and say, can we stop calling Funko Pops a trend? They've been doing them since 2010. They've been making them since 2010, but they've only been popular for about 7 years, and they are dropping off. Even the last SDCC drop was half of what they normally would list. How short was our SDCC video, the last one around? Think about it. And that's why they kept trying to diversify by coming up with other things to offer you, Dorbs, Ikari, whatever. And they've kind of hit on it with the sodas. The sodas are the next thing with Funko right now, because they knew eventually people were going to lose interest. They knew that was going to happen. Oh, there's Lady Pop Hunter. Hi, hon, you look good. Thank you. I can't see you, though, unfortunately. LPH is in the chat box. Yeah, Johnny saw it. Yeah, LPH has joined us in the chat box because she tried to call me, but, I didn't want to sit here on the phone and talking to you guys at the same time. Gilgamesh says, those were some cute kittens. How many do you have now? Too damn many. That's how many we have. Crumb, of course, is at a relative's house now. We have Uncle, which is a huge, and I mean huge, he must weigh 15 pounds, tuxedo cat. Miss Kitty, who does not like Uncle. Uncle, he comes and hangs out, and sometimes he sleeps over. So Miss Kitty's in the house. She doesn't like going outside. There's the four that come to the back porch. Mom, Dad, who is a very old cat, and then Brother, and then Mustache. Because the cat looks like he has a mustache. And Brother and Mustache are siblings, and Mom is their mother. Come to the back, and now we've got the two little puffballs that came running to us out of the bushes. And they're in the house. And they are very playful and very rambunctious, and probably will not be coming in this room for that very reason. Dow says, I only buy Funko Pops and my favorite characters. They aren't bad in moderation, but I agree that there are way too many Pops. Yeah, they must have. I lost count. When I talked about them a few years back, and there was already more than 7,000 Pops. I don't know how many they could possibly be right now. It's insane how many that they've produced. And still making them. It's incredible. And they no signs of stopping either. And they will occasionally roll something else out, because if they don't, they lose the franchise rights. So they have to produce something sometime, even if it's one. Just like Sony with Spider-Man. If they quit making things from the Spider-Man franchise, they'll lose access to it. And that's going to be a problem. Oh, wow, this jumped. People saying hi to LPH. I'm glad to see that she's in here. I hope everything's going well over there. It's not that bad of a drive for her, but I hate for her to have to go by herself, and I'll probably go with her next time. Robert says Haslab should do a synthoid machine like the Terminator regeneration machine. That's something that's never been done. That'd be interesting. And then they could make a couple of stages of synthoid blob creatures to go in it. They don't even have to be articulated. They could just be for backdrop, little mannequins. Wheel says it's raining nonstop. Some parts of Sydney are badly flooded, and we got 2 more weeks of it. Oh, wow. D-Mom says, actually tried to find a 6-inch Alan Alda Hawkeye figure to go with my MCU Avengers as a joke. Did you? They have a 9-inch, but it's not Alan Alda. It's based on the movie figure. Hold on. I know, I keep running off. Oh, no, it is Alan Alda. I'm sorry. See? Durham made these, and they're based on the movie. There's only 2 figures, Hawkeye and Hot Lips. But, you know, this is like a 9 or a 10-inch scale. I think this is a 9-inch scale. Really crappy action figure. And I forget when this was made. I think it was made actually in 69. I think 1969 Durham made these. So he could be a doctor for your Migos, but he would be like a basketball player in comparison by height, because it's almost an inch more than an inch taller, actually. Let me see. Gilgamesh says I bought an average of 1 to 2 pops a year, so I never really got burned out. Just never cared for characters other than my favorites, and that's fine, and that's how you should do it, because again, most collectors are completists and they get sucked in, and I got sucked in for a little while, and I took a good long look at it, and I said, no, I need to thin this mess out because I'm sick of buying pops, and I haven't bought a pop in a couple of years, and I just I pulled out the ones that I really wanted, and just I got rid of most of the rest of them. Quite frankly, I sold them. LPH still has hers. You can't see because it goes into the next room there. I think the light's off, but you can see that pop wall there. And then there's on the door, those cards and letters are from people who sent things to our P.O. box, because we keep their cards and letters. Yeah, Fractured says, it's a shame. I personally liked the Funko Hikaris, and LPH has a bunch of the Skeletor ones. The Hikaris were interesting, and they were very limited numbers, all of them. Robert says, I just bought a boss fight comic Flash Gordon. Okay, I think I'm getting their Tarzan. They look good. All right, yeah, and that's a franchise that's getting around too, because NECA and Big Chief Studios did Flash Gordon as well. I have to admit though, I like the way the NECA ones on the card looks, because it looks very much like not the Galoob Flash Gordon, but the classic Mattel ones from 1980. It's very reminiscent of the Mattel carded versions. Yeah, Robert says, I miss Crumb. That was your main mascot. I know. I miss him too, but he just wasn't content anymore. Something happened where he wasn't happy. Not sure what triggered him, because nothing changed. But he was doing a lot of pacing, which is a sign of depression in an animal. And if he went out, he fought with everybody. He used to be calm, but now he was fighting. So we had to move him. And he's calmed down a lot. So that's what he needed. He needed a change, unfortunately. But yeah, he was a good boy. David wants to know if I have the MASH ID tags. No, I do not. I don't have those. Yeah, Robert didn't know they did a MASH in that scale. Yeah, that's Durham. Durham. So if you went to like eBay and you looked up Durham MASH, you would find them. Very, very difficult to find them in any kind of decent packaging. The packaging was flimsy. It's usually smashed up if it's still carded. They don't cost that much, actually. They're even considering that they were produced in 1969. They're fairly cheap. Eric says, I hope that Snake Mountain Origins comes out on Thanksgiving. Snake Mountain Origins. I don't know. I don't know when they're going to be doing anything like that. They haven't had much success with the Origins Castle Grayskull because it sat around. I mean, it was hard to find at first, but then tons of them turned up at Target, and now they're shelf warmers, and they're turning up on clearance. So that may or may not happen, depending upon whether or not any of the retailers are willing to invest in it now. Johnny says, that's nice you keep our letters. Shows you really appreciate your subscribers. Thank you. Yeah, well, we do. I mean, and nobody has to send us anything. You know, it's a blessing. Somebody wants to actually send us something to add to the museum or whatever, because we didn't ask for anything. There's no requirements. I'm not making another video unless someone sends me something, you know. So it's just really nice when people reach out and do something like that. We really appreciate it. So, you know, like I said, we stick the cards and letters up there. Stone Sour is roughly how many pops do you now own? I don't know. I'm sure it's less than 50. I don't know how many LPH has, like 1,000. Lady Pop Hunter says 843, and she answered her question. You have 843? Holy crap. Wheel says the only pops I own are the Elvis ones, Ozzy, the Ninja Turtles, Splinter, Casey Jones, Married with Children. Really? Zartan. Okay. Oh, Robert says, got to charge, battery's dying. You be well, all in chat too. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this will be saved, so you can catch it later if you wanted to. Jared says he's thinking of selling over half of my collection. Ouch. Getting tired of it? Is it mostly new stuff? Is it just wearing you down? Wheel says Motu Origins are not at retail here. They're online only. G.I. Joe classifieds are the same, nothing at retail. Okay. Yeah, but you're in Australia, though, and there's issues with that, right? Because they used to have a thing where if you wanted to manufacture a toy in another country, you just crossed the license. So, like, you want to use G.I. Joe, you want to use Star Wars, okay, Palatoy, we'll pick it up, and we'll send you molds, and we'll franchise it, we'll work it out. These toy companies don't do this stuff anymore. They don't do it anymore, and it makes it tough on people in different countries to track stuff down. Yeah, Jared says, yeah, Legends Classified, Black Series, Origins. Okay, I understand. Kaiser says, I saw an Evel Knievel figure with the mini t-shirt at a shop. You mean Funko? Fractured said, just want to say I really enjoy your channel. Your fading nostalgia videos are great. Thank you. We appreciate that a lot. We do, actually, and that's why we keep doing it, is we just like sharing with the community, sharing with like-minded individuals, sharing ideas and so on. And Gilgamesh says, I picked up a Super 7 Ultimate Toxic Crusader the other day on clearance for $19. Ow. He's no better than a McFarlane or NECA figure. I don't see how they justify $50 a piece for them. $55 plus shipping and handling. Kaiser says it's a Mego-like figure. Okay. Okay. And Dow, I'm glad that Hasbro and these other mainstream retail toy companies are shaking things up, because now instead of buying everything upon release at MSRP, I watch and wait for sales, discounts, and clearance. Yeah, and that's the way to go, and I don't blame you at all, because it's expensive. It is expensive, and you got to be savvy. You got to be frugal with it. I mean, it's not just your money that you're investing. It's your time, your energy, your effort, and even some emotion in there as well. If it's something that's nostalgic for you, that's a big investment. So it's not just a financial one, although the financial burden is tough enough. Even all the running around. And that's why, because you look way back, LPH and I used to do a lot of like hunt videos. Let's drive around and see if we can find some action figures. Let's see if we can find this and that. And it got to be such a drag. You know, you have to factor in the cost of fuel, your time, your energy, again, your effort, the disappointment. There's your emotion when you can't find what you're looking for, because it's never there. How many targets can you go to looking for looking for your Target exclusive pop or your Target exclusive classified that is never there, but there's a ton of them on eBay. There's a ton of them at the shows. I go to conventions. Oh, there's crap tons of classifieds. Who saw the convention videos recently, or the one, what was it? It was the RetroCon, was the retro toy swap. We were at the retro toy swap, and that guy must have had 500 Black Series Star Wars figures. You know, Johnny says I got 3 guitars and I can't play. Yeah, you got them signed by Back to the Future cast, right? Yeah, Kaiser says Target exclusive turtles still can't get Casey. See, and the Walmart also has NECA exclusive turtles, the movie edition ones. You couldn't find them hardly. People get sick of it. Oh, Jared says he's getting back into music. Guitars cost a lot. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, Stone Sour says I enjoyed the con hunts back in the day. And we still go to the conventions, but we're not going to Target, Walmart, this and that anymore. We're not doing that anymore. We stopped a long time ago because it was just too much disappointment, too much travel time, too much wasted on fuel. Forget it. It loses its appeal. And I think that's why LPH picks on me a lot. Are you going to get that? Are you going to get that when we do the weekly roundup? And I say I'm on the fence. Yeah, I'm on the fence because do I really want to invest in this? And then when I get it, I'm going to be disappointed. Because everything, and that's the thing also with this HISS tank, it looks great in the photos. They always look great in the photos. When you get it in hand, that may not be the case. It may be a piece of junk when you actually get your hands on it. And again, it's not even pictures of the HISS tank. The HISS tank, there's only one 3D printed prototype that Hasbro put on their website or their YouTube or whatever. The pictures on the Haslab are computer renditions. So there is no actual HISS tank. So yeah, it looks fantastic. It looks absolutely fantastic. Of course it does. You won't know for sure until someone gets it in hand. And the people that are going to get it in hand first and put up their review videos are people that are going to get the early bird package from Hasbro because they're collaborating with Hasbro. They got their hand-picked people that are going to do the reviews, and those reviews are going to be fantastic. They're going to have an orgasm over those HISS tanks. They're going to fall down and curl up in the fetal position and weep for joy when they get their HISS tank because they're getting paid to review it. They're getting the tank for free. You know what I mean? They don't want to blow their gig. It's hard to find anymore, I think, a reviewer that's just going to be square with you and tell you the truth of how they feel. And then when you do, people get mad at you. I get people mad at me for the reviews I give all the time. Wheel says the price increases here are really pushing collectors away. Star Wars Black Series Deluxe figures can be $70 in some cases, $55 for gaming greats. Insanity. Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy. Let me see. Johnny says 1 signed by Kenny Rogers, 2 signed by Michael J. Fox. Okay. I remember you talking about that before. And you sent me a couple of pictures of your guitars, too. Stone Sour says, I love it when she rolls her eyes after I'm on the fence. But I am. Do I want to spend $300 on a HISS tank? Do I want to buy 2? Do I want to buy 2 and have one to put in my collection, put on the shelf somewhere, and then maybe sell the other one to offset the cost because it's going to go up immediately after it's released to the consumer? You know what I mean? I think that's why a lot of people are funding 2 or more. I bet a lot of people are funding 5, partly because they like to troop build or army build, and partly because they're sitting there thinking, oh, I can sell these off and make a few bucks. Yeah, Stone Sour says, have you decided on the HISS? You know I'm on the fence, and I can hear those eyes rolling all the way in South Carolina. Zom says, overpriced plastic. Sometimes it is. Coffee Madness. There you are, Coffee. Absolutely agree, they say. where are we here? Because I do try to keep up with the comments. Yeah, D Munn missed the days when I could stop at Toys R Us and pick up everything, and that was the point I was making before, where Hasbro's overdone it with their artificial demand model, at least for me, which is why I stopped getting classifieds in the first place. I was sick of trying to find them in Targets. I was not going to pay aftermarket prices on something that should be on the shelf that went out the side door at Target. There was no way I could afford any of their convention exclusives because aftermarket on those is insane. Then they did the repaints on the first 5, and I was like, oh, screw you, Hasbro. I'm not getting any more classifieds. I couldn't find them anyways. And they've surpassed me on classifieds at this point. I would need so many it would cost a fortune, even though aftermarket on many of them is dwindling. On the regular edition figures, it's dwindling. Logic says I'd rather just get a 3 3/4 scale HISS tank, probably a lot less expensive than the Hasbro one. I'd rather have an original, a raw 80s era HISS tank myself. I don't have one anymore. I would love to get one again, even loose, just to mix it with the display. You know, I like getting mint on card and mint and boxed items, but I will also get loose, complete pieces depending upon what it is, and I'll do a raw loose. You know, if it's, as long as everything is there and it's a decent shape, I'll do it. I like the HISS tank, but do I really want to go ahead and jump off on that? I did back the Galactus. I got a Galactus coming because I collect not Marvel Legends figures, but the Build-A-Figures. I have a big collection of Build-A-Figures, a bunch of which I got from my son. Sent me twice. He sent me a box full of them. So I thought that would be nice. But I don't know about the HISS tank. I don't know how I feel about it. Yeah, Jared says it does cost a lot to go to these stores every day and come out empty-handed. I hate all the store exclusives. And it ruins it for you. And just like I had mentioned earlier, is talking about it, some of you may have missed it that are just joined us since then. Back in the day, if there was a store exclusive, you could get it. Sears had an exclusive, JCPenney had an exclusive, Montgomery Ward, you could get it. If it wasn't in the store, you could order it through their catalog. If you went to KB did a lot of exclusives, especially with Toy Biz, with and in particular X-Men figures. You walked into KB, they had 100 of them. No matter which KB you went to, they had 100 of them, of that exclusive paint variant or whatever it was, gold edition 10-inch figure of Wolverine, stuff like that. They always had them. They always had them. Not anymore. Now the store exclusives are short runs. And then because there's a big aftermarket thing going with exclusives, half the time I don't think they even make it out on the shelves. I think they get cherry picked by employees or some other side deal. You know, it just doesn't make it. Stone Sour says 300 seems too steep for me. Keeping in mind also, though, that once it reaches all of its tiers, you're going to get a lot more with it. And that was what I was talking about earlier. People were panning it already because they were saying, oh, well, yeah, just a HISS tank and a figure for 300, that's bullshit. But it actually has 2 figures. You got to read the whole thing. There's 5 tiers, not 4. There was a hidden tier, and some of you already heard me talk about this. There was a hidden tier that if they reached 8,000 for their first funding goal by July 6th, you were going to get 2 figures instead of 1. And they were going to give you, I think it's a technician officer, Cobra technician officer, which is a figure they have not made before. So a totally new figure will automatically come with the HISS tank now. You're getting 2. And they've already unlocked 2 of the 4 traditional tiers because it passed 12,000 this morning. It hasn't even been a week. So this one is flying. It's flying. Although the first tier reveal was kind of a waste to me, I think, which is the rocket pods that attach to the side of the HISS tank. And I'm just like, you know, I could have done without that. I don't think that's a big deal. Whatever is supposed to be tier number 2, it's unlocked, but they haven't revealed it yet. Hasbro needs to get on the ball with that so people can see. Hopefully it's another figure. Sky Striker was supposed to come with a lot of figures. It never made it to the last tier, which is unfortunate because the last tier had figures that hadn't been done before. And of course, in O-ring, which is what everybody freaking wants. I think part of the problem also is that there are too many different variants of G.I. Joe right now. When back in the day when a company made action figures, they were the only ones doing it, unless they were franchised through a foreign distributor like Palitoy, for example. I brought them up earlier. Now everybody's making them. How many G.I. Joes are there? You've got the O-ring figures are back. You've got classifieds. You've got 3-0 making 6th scale. You've got, there's a model kit company making G.I. Joe figures in like an 8-inch variety. Mego's making 8-inch G.I. Joes. The retro line is out, right? Am I missing one? Classifieds? Did I call classifieds already? Mezco is doing them in 1/12. Am I up to 8 already? How many G.I. Joe variants do you need? And it's the same figures over and freaking over again. And I think that's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. It makes you not want to bother with any of them. That's right. Thank you, Jared. Super 7. And Super 7's making 2. They're making Ultimates, which is 12th scale, cartoon accurate, Sunbow accurate Joes, and their reaction, like 5 points of articulation figures. That's 10. Do we need 10 different styles from different companies of the exact same figures? It's overwhelming. It makes you not want to bother with any of them. It makes you not want to deal with any of them. D-Mum says Tactician Officer is a different deco of the HISS driver that the backers will vote on. Okay. Yeah, Lynx, that's a lot of G.I. Joe. It's too much. It's too much. And what was there in the 80s? Hasbro. And that's all you got. 1/18th scale figures. That's it. That's all you needed. That's the original Mail Away Sergeant Slaughter. That's enough. That was fine. That was fine. This is too many choices. This is like going into the cereal aisle and there's 150 different boxes of cereal. But really, if you think about it, only about a dozen varieties. You see what I'm saying? Let me see. Also, if I miss your comment, I'm not ignoring you. It just kind of flies, and I try to keep up. With you guys. Wheels said, oh, I'm sorry. Johnny asked if I had the original Evel Knievel stunt cycle. I used to have the entire Ideal line. I do not anymore. I only have one Ideal Evel Knievel figure left. Just one on the card. Part of the collection that was stolen from me. And that's it up there. See him up there in the middle, Evel Knievel? That's the last remnants of my mint on card and minted box Ideal Evel Knievel toy series. Rest in peace. Pour one out for the homies. As a lot of you who are familiar with the channel know, I had a massive collection stolen from me. Will says, I've only got 10 classified figures and 6 more incoming, and after they arrive, I'm out. The windowless packaging has turned me right. Oh, yeah, that too. That's frustrating because you like a nice presentation. And that's why card art was always so important. And I've got a lot of examples. I can show you a lot of things. Let me grab this here real quick. This is why there was always such dynamic card art. It pops. Gives you something. Here's your figure. Here's some art. We'll stylize the title. G.I. Joe was famous for that too. G.I. Joe was always good for card and box art, making it impressive. That art always popped. And I think, aesthetically speaking, it really ties in. It's important. It's important to the toy. Even though Kenner kind of cheated, because Kenner just took a picture of the toy, but they still picked really iconic images for the toys, so that it would trigger a memory. You know, it's a photograph, but you know this. And Kenner usually did a lot of photographs. I'll grab one more here to show you what I'm talking about. Like this Steve Scout set. But they had somebody sit there and build an entire diorama with the action figures in the playset. So that you have a scene here. Look, you could play with it like this. And that's just the playset comes like this, but the action figures were window boxed, except for the ones that were sold through the Boy Scouts. So the Boy Scouts, see, there's your traditional first wave like Scout box, and then this is the one that would be on the shelves. But I think that's really important. Not just the box art, but the overall presentation. And collectors want a blister or a window box. That's what they want. Jared says the companies have taken all the joy out of collecting. I started the hobby to unwind from all the stress in life, but now the toys cause me the most amount of stress. Oh, I feel bad for you. I know what you're talking about, though. And that's why, again, and Stone Sour picked on me a little bit for it there. But I always sit there and say, hey, I'm on the fence, because I have way cut back from dealing with any of the new stuff. I really love the vintage stuff. And what's the best about it is once you've got everything, you're done. They're not going to sneak up on you with another piece. Like I showed this earlier. There's your Kenner Chuck Norris. That's all of it. That's the entire series. There's nothing else to find. I'm done. And they're not going to sneak up on me. There's not going to be an exclusive from a convention, you know, whatever. I have a closer tie to the older stuff than the new stuff. And people sit there. One of the reasons why people buy a lot of the new stuff is because they say, oh, I can't afford the vintage. In a lot of cases, you can. You really can. It's not as expensive as you think in comparison to what you might end up paying for some of the new pieces. But, and again, and I talked about this earlier, Hasbro Pulse, fans come first, or what is it, Mezco, by collectors for collectors. They're just slogans. They don't really mean it. They're in business to make money. They're in business to make money. I'm sorry. Coffee says Galactus is one that I wish I would have purchased when it came out. It's ridiculously overpriced now. Yikes! Oh, people selling their pre-orders already? I don't know. I hadn't looked. I got mine. I did get one. I missed out on the Sentinel, but I did get Galactus so that I could put it with my other Build-A-Figures. And Wheel says exclusives are really ruining the collector's experience, I feel. Yeah, like we were talking about earlier. Once upon a time, an exclusive, you could get it. You could get your hands on an exclusive. You can't anymore. It's hard now. They run the numbers down on it. Exclusive literally means exclusive, not just that you can only purchase it in a certain place. And that's what ruins it. Dow says, I got the Haslab Sentinel back 2 Galactuses and now 5 HISS tanks. I missed out on the Sky Striker, so I'm going to have to pay scalper prices. Yeah. And again, it's a pity Sky Striker didn't make it all the way to the last tier. I was pulling for it, honestly, and I did back one myself, although I don't know if I'm going to open it. Now I'm just like, because now I'm like, I don't know if I really want to bother with the new re-release of the O-ring figures. First of all, it's a little frustrating that it takes all the way till 2022 for them to figure out that O-ring figures is what raw collectors have wanted all along for decades. And secondly, I don't see myself going out and buying other O-ring figures. I just, but I did back one. Let me see. Adversity Tier 2 was revealed on Instagram. It's old school tread covers and canopy. Really? Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. That sounds like a wonk too. I'm not impressed with that. Demonk Tactician Officer. Oh yeah, I read that. I'm sorry. D-Doubt, did anyone manage to score the $1 He-Man? I don't. Wow, I'm way behind on the comments. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, Wheel says companies are flogging the nostalgia horse as much as they can. There's a lot of burn out there. That's true. Logic says the 5 POA GI Joes make no sense to me. Joe needs articulation. Yeah, but the Super 7, you're talking about the reaction figures. The reaction figures are a parody of the common 80s action figure, the basic figure. That's what they're kind of making fun of. And especially at $18 a piece, that kind of blows when you look at the Legends doing basically the same thing, because they got their 1/18th scale figures also carded with nice card art, and the retail's what, 12 or 13? They're at least $5 cheaper. So it can be done cheaper. Super 7's just not doing it. Wolverine says, I have a friend who buys everything new from all vendors. Oh, wow. Johnny wants to know if I'll ever try to get them back, the Knievels. I'd like to, but man, the prices on some of the vintage stuff, especially if it's boxed or carded, wow. So I go back and I look, and some of the prices are just like floored by how expensive it is. I'm having a hard enough time trying to rebuild my $6 million man Kenner line. The prices have really skyrocketed in the last decade or so. Nate wants to know, is your Terradrome sparkling clean, looking like you just unboxed it in '85? It did clean up really nicely. And in fact, when we staged it, when we did LPH filmed a tour of the Terradrome and me setting it up here, we just haven't put it up yet. So you get a nice close look at it. It's real clean now, though. It's really clean, and I got a ton of Cobra figures in there. Zom says, miss the good old days when everything was on the shelves and a kid could buy more than one figure with their allowance. Yeah, I never had an allowance, so I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't get allowance. I had to scrimp and save. I had to collect bottles and cans and stuff to buy my stuff. Zom says, you're correct. I'm a huge presentation fan. Love the artwork on the vintage goodness. Yeah, for me, it's part of the whole experience. Oh, Coffee wants to know what my favorite Chuck Norris film is. Invasion USA is a blast. I like Invasion USA, and I like the, is it the Octagon? I think. Yeah, Stone Sour, for collectors, by collectors. What a joke. But they all say it. Super 7's got a slogan like that. Mezco, NECA, they all got some kind of slogan. And it's bass backwards, because even if they were for collectors at some point, when the money started rolling in, it turned into something else. Master says, I can't go down the classified hole anymore. I knew they were going to start Haslab vehicles and everyone would start fully commit to the line. Good luck now finding Joe exclusives. No kidding. Where was I? Yeah, the presentation here. Let me take a look at this for presentation. Atrovitos Dynamicos. And that is actually supposed to be like Tonto. And this is from Plastimarks, which is Marks South America, late 70s. You can see there's a 7-inch Marks figure inside there. And you know it's pre-80s because there's no barcode. And that's the whole set. I don't have the whole set. I've only got, no, that's not the whole set because they always skip the picture on the back of the figure that's in the box. There's 9, I've got 7 of them. Very hard to find these. Look at that artwork. I mean, you can barely see the figure, which is unfortunate because you can, if I turn it, you can see he's got like war paint and everything on. It's a well done figure. Look at that. Look at the detail that went into that art. Aesthetically speaking, and for historic value and presentation, that just really pops. That's one of the reasons why I'm big on carded and boxed items, because it just says a lot and it presents very well. So yeah, I love me some box art. So I always try to find carded and boxed. Stone Sour says the only Chuck Norris movie I've seen is Sidekicks. You're missing out. They're fun. Yeah, beautiful artworks on them. Indeed, the Atrevitos Dynamicals artwork is fantastic. They're astronauts too. They've got 2 astronauts. They got Zorro, Lone Ranger, and Tonto. And then they have like a villain cowboy and 3 versions of soldiers. They have like an Australian jungle fighter, a World War II soldier, and a Cuban soldier. And I believe they were done in, I can't remember, 77, 78, something like that. But yeah, the artwork on them just really, really stands out. JG, is that a loincloth? Yeah, he's wearing a skirt, a loincloth on the artwork. But of course, the figure is fully clothed. Link says, I still buy figures and toys, but not much. I used to back in 2013 to 2017. And Gilgamesh, the thing about classifieds, I still have a dozen figures on pre-order, so I don't know what to do about the line. I want to like it and collect it, but with the distribution and price hikes, I don't know. And I totally understand. And that's why I hung up on it. And I started on Mezco. I did pre-order the Destro, but then Roadblock came out. And then Snake Eyes came out, and I saw the pattern, and I was just like, you know what? I'll go ahead and honor my pre-order for the Destro, but I'm not getting any more of the Mezco G.I. Joes either. I'm not doing it. Especially after they came out with Roadblock, because that's just following the pattern. It was nice that they started with Destro, but then I was like, you know, Classified already had 2 Roadblocks, 3 because of the repaint. And why does everybody start with Roadblock? Everybody wants to throw Roadblock out there first. And I just got, like I said, disenfranchised. I got disenchanted with the classifieds, with the Mezco G.I. Joes and stuff. I just went back. And it's really why I started doing the G.I. Joe journey. I'm like, I don't know that I want to get any more new Joe stuff. I would rather get 60s, 70s, and 80s Joes, and even some early 90s. You know, even like the early 90s stuff. Like you see, you can't see this one rack fully, can you? See right there, I've got that rack with the carded Joes on it. And so carded and boxed, if I can find them, and loose pieces if they're mint to complete, if they're nice. Link says started with Godzilla figures and Immobiles and Funko Pops and NECA during the Toys R Us days. Yeah, NECA used to have a lot of Godzilla on the big blister pack, and they were like around a $22 to $25 range at Toys R Us. And they're decent looking figures, actually, from the NECA. I don't know how well they function, because I know that NECA figures are not very well constructed. Adversity Dime Marvel Legends. Okay. Well, okay. What do you think about what Chicken Fried Toys are doing with the Dime Store novel figures? I think they're a real throwback. Pretty nice. I'm not sure. Have I shown those on the weekly roundup? I'm not sure if I've seen that. And Johnny wants to know, did I build any Lego sets? Yeah, but remember when I was a kid, Legos didn't come in sets. They had a couple of things, like they had the town with the little police station, or it was all proprietary stuff, the Lego castle, things like that. I didn't have any of that stuff. I had a generic Lego set, and you know, it didn't even come with figures or anything. Figures was a new concept in the 80s. In the 70s, I had a traditional Lego set, and I just did whatever I could do with them. I know that that's turned into a big thing since Lego franchised. It's Star Wars. Franchising Star Wars saved Lego because Lego was on the way out. And Logic says he likes the G.I. Joe videos, that they're fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do the Star Wars and the G.I. Joe Journey videos because I'm working bit by bit to try to replace those lines. It's hard because they're so expensive now, the vintage stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, Kaiser says, regret giving away his Legos. I bet you do. Yeah, Link says they used to be $18 Naked Godzilla figures. By the end of the run, they cost 25 to 28. Yeah, how much are they now? The boxed ones are what, around $40, $45? Yeah, Johnny, Lego made a lot of space station sets. They had the astronaut series in the 80s. They had a proprietary astronaut series because it wasn't based on anything, and it was interesting. They were nice. Lego had a lot going for it. They still do. Okay, Adversity says, I think you get a charge out of them, old school Western style with modern articulation 4-inch scale. Okay. Kaiser, who's making the Godzillas now? I want Baragon and Moran to be made. Who's making them? Here we go again. NECA, Bandai, take your pick. I know there's a few companies doing it. It's not as bad as with G.I. Joe there, with as many different companies are cranking those out, or Star Wars. A lot of different places were doing Star Wars too. Wheel says, as far as vintage goes, I've been chasing down the 89 Batman merchandise. Okay. Kenner Star Wars figures in the last few issues of the Motu mini comics, 4 remaining. The modern stuff is losing its appeal, and I feel that way too. Also, if you're looking at it in terms of value, if anyone's even still interested in, say, G.I. Joe 100 years from now, 150 years from now, which ones do you think they're going to want? Are they going to want all of this stuff that's being cranked out right now? Are they going to want the originals? Are they going to want the original Ara? Are they going to want the original Adventure Team? You know, people eventually always default back to the original versions of something. In my experience, I don't see it being any different in the future. That all this stuff, they're going to be like, oh, classifieds, Mezco, what's this? No, I want the original Hasbro ones from '83. You see what I'm saying? Oh, Johnny said, oh, that's right. Mezco just made a line of Godzilla figures, set 1 and 2, 4 figures each. Yeah, they're 5 points figures, right? That's correct. I forgot about that. Link says, I don't want to jump down another black hole buying Legos. Have a buddy, he buys them. If I did get Legos, I'd want vintage sets, which finding sealed vintage Lego sets, I'm sure would be a pain in the butt. Oliver says, I just looked up Chicken Fried Toys interesting releases. I don't think I'd ever heard of them before. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I had seen them either. Zom says, Lego's another toy line that is very overpriced these days for the amount of sets and reusing a lot of the same bricks. Yeah, should make these building sets much cheaper. Yeah, Kaiser says, I missed Bionicles. Bionicles is what hurt them. Because they kept they talked about that in the toys that made us, didn't they? They got into a lot of trouble in the late 80s, early 90s because they kept I think, or the early 90s more specifically, because they kept trying to diversify. They made the little mini bricks, and then they did the Bionicles, and they were stretching themselves thin all over the place. But then they went back to basics when they franchised with the Star Wars license, and that rekindled a lot of interest in the Lego. Stone Sour says, I'll probably get the Mezco Burning Godzilla since I missed out on the Monster Arts one. Okay. Mezco. Oh, that's right. Yeah. See, everybody does it. Everybody's making them. Everybody's making them. And that's part of the problem with the G.I. Joe. There's too many different companies producing them. I was shocked when I saw 3-0 was going to start making 1/12 scale, 1/6 scale ones again. And there's already a 6th scale set out there that's not that old, and that's the Sideshow series. Sideshow had a whole series of 6 scale G.I. Joes. Johnny says, I just got both Godzilla sets today, very nicely made, and it comes with stands and accessories. Okay, that's good. You mean from Mezco, right? It's too many pieces, too much product, and the exclusives and everything really kill it. And that brings us back to the Haslab HISS tank. Haslab HISS tank, the Hasbro Pulse HISS tank, looks great. Great idea. I think they missed an opportunity again. Talked about this earlier with the treads. I know the wheels do turn and the treads do work on the HISS tank, which is great. But I wish they had made it motorized. The lights, I'm not impressed with the lights at all. I never have been impressed with lights and sounds on a toy, because you can't use them all the time. You can't just leave your HISS tank on 24/7, but you can motorize it. And I think they missed an opportunity to motorize those treads like they used to do with the Mobat and the Mauler. I would have liked to have seen that, and especially now that they can micronize the components so much better, it would have been easier, lighter, cheaper to do it. Adversity says, further down the successful independent toy rabbit hole, might as well check out Fresh Monkey's Fiction's Eagle Force line and the Big Bad Toy Store Santa Claus figures. Pretty funny. Yeah, and I showed those. I saw those. These 12th scale Santa series, and then the Eagle Force, because they reissued Eagle Force, which originally was a 2-inch die-cast action figure from Mego on a really ugly bright orange card. Trying to compete with G.I. Joe with a figure that's this tall. Still cool, though. Still really nostalgic. And what was he? Stone Sour wants to know what LPH thinks of the HISS tank. I don't know. LPH, are you still in here? What do you think of the HISS tank? If you ask her, she's going to try to convince me to get one. Zom says Dollar Tree has a cheap line right now that is quite amazing. Many figures and accessory packs. Final Faction, maybe a so-called cheap toy line, but that's a thought. I've heard a lot of people talking about that. I haven't seen them. I haven't been in a dollar store in years, but I know what you're talking about, because I have heard a lot of people talking about the Final Faction figures. Yeah, cheap carded figure, doesn't look bad. People have been into that, so I get it. I totally get that. Gilgamesh says, I wish NECA had done more kaiju from Godzilla when they had the license. They just pumped out the one Godzilla after another for years. Yeah, that's true. I like their Mothra, Rodan, and Kong. Johnny says one figure in the set was Manila, which was cute. Baby Godzilla. Okay. Or is that Minya? I thought his name was Minya. Link says Playmates are making the Godzilla's figures. Are they? Adversity. Personally, I'd rather have something that displays well. Making his tank RC would kill the interior space. No, it doesn't have to be remote control. It can be just like a toggle switch like this. You know, this was a toggle switch forward and backward. But yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I think a lot of people, that's what they want to do is as they troop or army build, and that's probably why it's funded so quickly. Like I said, they're over 12,000 already as of this morning, so they only have 2 tiers left for this tank. I'm willing to bet a lot of people funded 5, or at least more than 1, so that they could army build, or because they think they're going to sell one later. Logic says he has the entire Final Faction line. Manila, huh? It says Manila. Okay. And it could be another pronunciation too, because you know Godzilla is actually Gojira, so it depends on the pronunciation. Oh, Wheels has got to go. Sorry, friend, got to run. I'll catch you in LPH on the next one. All the best to you both. Yeah, try to get her back in here. We had a lot to do as far as like conventions and stuff in the last few weeks, so you know we've been skipping the live streams. Gilgamesh wants to know if I picked up any retro video games for my collection recently. No, I haven't gotten any retro games in quite a while, quite a long time. Although if I was looking for games, of course, I would probably be looking for Nintendo NES or Sega Genesis. Where I haven't even played any of the games in a while. I haven't had time. I haven't had time on in a while. Kaiser says Minya is the Japanese name. Okay, there you go. That's the one I remember. But yeah, I haven't had hardly very much time to play video games in quite a while. But I always want to default back to either Nintendo NES or Sega Genesis, even over the Atari. And I had an Atari 2600 when I was a kid that I bought myself. I purchased it from someone who was getting rid of theirs with 25 or 30 game cartridges that he had with it. He wanted $50, and I came up with $50 from my paper route. I had paper routes when I was a kid. Johnny wants to know what I'm going to do for the 4th. Nothing. Except for keep the cats calm, because the fireworks are going to freak them out. But no, we're not going anywhere or doing anything on the 4th. I think LPH will be back by then anyways, because I know she's gone to her parents, but I don't think she's staying for very long. She's not staying more than a day or 2. Let me see. Link says after Bandai lost the rights, Playmates picked up the rights. I have mixed feelings how they make them. Wish was soft plastic from the hard. Okay. And Andres Fernandez. Hello, first time watching. Thanks for joining us. I ordered 10 HISS tanks and keeping them all for army building. I know many people are upset at the price. 10? You ordered from 2 accounts? You ordered it from 2 different accounts? Because I know the limit was 5, right? And that's what... Oh, excuse me. That's what I was speculating on, was that it reached the funding goal so quickly, partially because a lot of people were going to sell them, I think. You know, so the Haslab projects aftermarket tend to go up. They at least double. And then also a lot of people are going to want to army, or they call them now troop building with it, which I totally understand. I even did it as a kid. I dug out all of my original Cobra figures that I still had to put with the Terradrome that I just set up. And I have 8 bats, minted complete, because I never played with them. I just set them up. I staged them. I didn't really play with them like all that. So they're perfect. I got 10 of them. It's like, wow, I have, or is it 8 or 10? No, I think I have 8. I'm sorry. I have 8 bats. So I get it, but wow, that's a lot of, that's $3,000. That's a lot to invest in setting that up. Do you do action figure photography or something? Link says best Godzilla figures ever from Bandai. Only getting them if I buy some from Japan. Best Godzilla is right here. That is the best Godzilla ever made. I'm just really fond of the Shogun Warriors line, and so my Godzilla, although he is version 3, Shogun Warriors version 3, the 1980 version, but one day I'll have all 3 of them. 4, because I want Jumbosaurus, which is the original Popey version, which looks drastically different. 3,200. Oh, with the tax, right? Yeah, wow. That's incredible. That's a lot of, yeah, and I'm not selling keeping all. Hey, and if you can afford to do it, if it makes you happy, I can't fault you that. I cannot fault you that. Kaiser, I had a real old Godzilla that was green and had red lips and bug eyes. Was it a Popey, or is it like an Imperial? One of those knockoff ones. Link says, yeah, that's the best Godzilla right there, David. OG of Godzilla figures. He is. He's awesome. See, you got me going now. And it's kind of funny to me, though, that he's smaller than every other figure in the line. But that's this is version 3 of the Mattel Shogun Warriors Godzilla. He's fully intact. And the way that you can tell he's version 3 is because of the reinforced lever. See how there's like a little triangle on the bottom of that lever for the flame? They call it a tongue, but it's actually flames. The reinforced lever is the dead giveaway that this is the 3rd version, because the 2nd version is this color but does not have the triangle. And the 1st version, of course, is like this bright lime green. But yeah, I love these. If I had 10 of these, I would keep them. I've got a real soft spot for the Shogun Warriors line. Let's see, where are we here? A big figure like 12 inches. And I'm wondering if it might have been the Imperial, because Imperial made a lot of dinosaurs and dragons, and they also made like kind of knockoff Godzillas, but they're big. They're big figures. Johnny says, I'm jealous of your Godzilla. Don't be jealous. Find one yourself. You could find one. Yes, atomic breath. That's right. Everybody calls it the tongue, and I get it, because it only goes out about so far. I mean, you'd have to put Godzilla right on top of another figure to burn him. Yeah, 3,200 is like 42 Canadian. That's right. Kaiser, yes, it was the Imperial. I played with it in the pool a lot. Yeah, and it's like this hard plastic. I got an Imperial sitting back here, actually. This is just a regular dinosaur, but that's an Imperial, and it usually has the Imperial. I don't know if you can see it, and with a crown on top of it right there. And then it says, it'll say something like made in Hong Kong or made in China or whatever. And then it has a date. And this one is 1985. But they did Godzilla also. And in a couple of different sizes. And they got a big one. And they're actually not that expensive. Guys, if you wanted to go out and find an Imperial Godzilla, you wouldn't pay a fortune for it. It's one of the cheaper of the vintage lines, Imperial. Because the dragons too, I see they did 2-headed dragons and all sorts of things that are really cool, and you could probably pick them up for like $20 a piece. Yeah, Kaiser, I might just for the nostalgia. Sure, the Imperial. That's what I'm always getting on about. I try to drive that nail in hard. people always say, I buy the new stuff. I prefer vintage, but I buy the new stuff because I can't afford the vintage. Yes, you can. It depends on what it is that you're buying. I know that like big franchises like Masters of the Universe and Star Wars and G.I. Joe can be very expensive, but a lot of the other stuff, it's not much. Or like I showed the Chuck Norris's earlier. I'll show it again here. I think most of these Chuck Norris carded figures are probably around $50, $60 a piece. You could do that, you know? Now, Silverhawks and Humanoids is another story you see back there. But yeah, a lot of the franchises, a lot of the 80s stuff can be expensive, but some of it is pretty reasonable. Gilgamesh says that they made kaiju figures from the old Godzilla cartoon. I don't think they made anything based on the cartoon, actually, which is surprising because didn't it have 2 seasons, the Saturday morning one? Yeah, Kaiser says, I hate telling people it's atomic breath, not fire. Yeah. Yeah, Link says it's the holy grail of Godzilla figures. No, mine would be the Jumbosaurus. Because, you know, these are copies, like you see the Mazinga or Mazinger. They're copies of the Popey. This one is almost identical to the actual Japanese Popey version. This is the first release, first, second, third version of the Shogun Warriors. First version is practically identical, except that he does not come with the extra fists, because the Popey version, you got all kinds of crazy stuff. And the Popey version doesn't say made in Japan. This one does. There's an earlier Popey version from like 1974 with really light colors, and you can't make a mistake. The Godzilla, they altered drastically, because the original Popey Godzilla, which is often referred to as Jumbosaurus, had a much smaller head, so the body made more sense, but also he was a pull string talker. He had a pull string on his back, and when you pulled it, he had like a speaker on his chest, little holes in his chest, and he would bark and growl and roar and make all sorts of noise. And they got rid of that feature. They changed his head and gave him the atomic breath little tongue function thing. But the Jumbosaurus, I would love to get my hands on. Very, very, very difficult to find. You'll never find one in a box, but loose and in working condition, it's up there. It's extremely expensive. Let me see. Graphic Man says, you're about my age. I loved fireworks and still do, but after so many decades of seeing them, I'm fine with letting other people enjoy them. Yeah, I grew up in Boston, so I didn't have fireworks. You know, you go to jail out there for that. But when I moved to Kansas, I did a lot of it with my kids, and I probably petered out on it. I'm just like, oh, fireworks now. Because in Kansas, you can buy anything you want. You can blow the place up. So I did a lot of that. Yeah, Link's, it's from the 70s if I'm wrong. No, you're correct. This is the 1980. They had a, or is it 7980? Because there's 3 versions. I think the first version came out in 77 or 78, and that's the lime green one. And before that would be Jumbosaurus from like 75, 76. So yeah, he's technically from the 70s, but they were still selling them in 1980. Let me catch up here. Dama has joined us. Good evening, Dama. Thank you for joining us here. Johnny wants to know how I can have Godzilla and no Kong. Sorry, no Kong. You know, Mego made a Kong, but it's a plush with wires in it. Big one, like this. I used to have one. I don't have it anymore. I suppose I could get, I think Imperial made a Kong too, actually. Now you're making me think I should look for it. Let me see. Kaiser says the Japanese poppies are so expensive, all rainbow colors and stuff. Yeah, you're talking about the sofubis, right? The soft vinyl stuff, or the small like Icarus here. I think this is what, 84, 83 or 84 Ultraman Icarus. And yeah, they did a lot of crazy, goofy colors and stuff, and they look all weird and deformed. I love them though. But the jumbo machinders from Popey are like these. They're not crazy looking, and they're big. And that's a mini jumbo. And that's Zaragon. He's mint and complete too. Although he don't always work, because you're supposed to turn them on and these little wheels spin and stuff, and his little nipple missiles go in and out. But this is a tough one to find. See, because he converts. He's got the little tank treads, so you can lay him on his back and he'll drive. But the batteries don't always work. See, that's Zaragon is the name of this one, but you know who that is. But they call it Zaragon. And that's called a mini jumbo. Kaiser says I have to scale a woman for Godzilla with a hold. Kaiser says I can buy a car with that Jumbosaurus. Oh, really? Yeah, Jumbosaurus, loose, complete, and working. If you're lucky, you might can get one for $1,200. I would love to get one of those though. And like I said, if I could afford it, every complete Godzilla I could find, I would get. Let me see here. Gilgamesh says, I'm licensed to do fireworks shows and I don't even bother watching them anymore. I've seen enough. I'm good just sitting at home telling my animals it'll be okay. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of that. Johnny says, I can afford a $14,000 statue, but I cannot afford Chuck Norris. Sorry. Yeah, and that's kind of my point. And that's the thing, is like people, they are spending as much for the new stuff as they would hunting down the vintage. I prefer, although I do still dabble in modern, like I've got the Big Chief Studios Doctor Who Fourth Doctor on pre-order. Couldn't resist. But I would prefer the vintage. I always love the vintage. I mean, you can tell just looking around in the room, just looking at the stuff that I have, toys from the 60s all the way through the 90s. And I enjoy it, and LPH enjoys it. She has more modern stuff than I do, because she has like a lot of the Maddie Club O2 figures, and she has a lot of the Super 7 stuff, the Thundercats. She likes the Super 7 Thundercats better than the LJN. I like the LJN. I have a couple. I used to have the entire carded set, again, part of the collection that was stolen. But yeah, if I find it, I can find it for a decent price, I'll pick one up, Let me see. Graphic Man, to bring up the movies for a second, as a youngster, I didn't like the King Kong versus Godzilla movie because I was rooting for Godzilla. Only later as an adult could I appreciate it. Anyone in chat agree? Yeah, it kind of ended in a draw, didn't it? If I remember, and they swam away. And gorillas can't swim, by the way. Primates cannot swim in real life. Gilgamesh wants to know if a card back has a slight bend to it, not creased, just curved. Can that be fixed and flattened easy? Yes or no? It can be flattened, but you risk making an indentation. I did it for LPH for her carded Dragon Blaster Skeletor. I pressed it. I pressed the card in my comic press, and hold on, I'll grab it. I don't think LPH is on there anymore. I think I'll grab it. Here we go. She has this one, and that's her Dragon Blaster Skeletor. And you can see the card's damaged. But when she picked this up, it's still sealed on the card, but the card is trashed. But it was actually literally rolled up in a ball. It was curled all the way down to the top of this. And I pulled it out and I put it into my press and I heat pressed it. And that's about as flat as I got it, which is a lot better than how it was. Like I said, it was literally like crumpled paper rolled up. You can flatten it. You can flatten the card, but since part of that is going to be sticking out of the press, you can only put it in the press that far. You risk creasing a line into the card, the part that's out of the press. But since it was so wrecked anyway, she wasn't worried about that. She was like, yeah, just go ahead and press it, and whatever happens, happens. And considering how it was, that's pretty good. Andres says, congrats on finding a Terradrome at Joe Fest. Yeah, no kidding. I've been looking for years because I always got okey doked on it. It's like I would go and it was never complete. And I don't want to get an incomplete one because if you buy the parts that are missing, you'll end up paying 2-3 times the price completing one. And when you get it complete, when they tell you it's complete, you find out it's not. Oh, but this is a 3D printed part. Oh, but it's been glued back together. Oh, but there's no figure. For some reason, raw collectors, I complain about this all the time, or raw sellers think that mint and complete doesn't include the figure. And you have to buy the figure separately. If it came with the damn figure, it's not complete if the figure's not there. That's my opinion. Let me catch up here. Johnny says McFarlane made a great 33 King Kong with the lady. You should look it up. It's where he's chained up on stage. Okay. Occam's Razor. Hey, David. No LPH. Thanks for joining us. Hope all is good. Glad I got part of this. LPH is visiting her parents today, and she'll be back. She's only going to be gone for a day or two, visiting with her parents. So I'm doing this on my own. Gilgamesh, okay, I just read that. I'm sorry. But yeah, I finally found one, and it was mint and complete, or not mint. It was dirty. It was really dirty, but it was complete. Everything was there. Figures there. Stickers, or I think it's only missing a couple of stickers. It's nothing I couldn't live with, and the price surprised me. I was shocked by the price because these are not cheap. And he was like, "Oh, I'm looking to get X for it." I'm like, "Really? Okay, finally got one. Now I got to find a Defiant. I'd love to get a Defiant, and I'll put it on the other side next to Serpentor." Soundwave says, "Awesome Shogun collection. Who is that Serpentor made by?" Oh yeah, that is the Prime 1 Serpentor statue. Prime 1 Studios Serpentor, and it's huge because the base, you can see the table is actually right here. And it's a lot of pieces. It took a while to put it together. And we actually did an unboxing and review of this figure or the statue when I got it. And this was a gift. LPH gave this to me. She gave it to me. It's like an anniversary gift. But yeah, it's an impressive piece. It's the only statue I have right now. I used to have a bunch of Iron Man statues. I sold them all. But I won't sell this one. I'm keeping that. And of course, I thought the Terradrome would be fitting right next to him. And if I can get a Defiant, I'll try to fit it on the other side. It's kind of hard because he's very wide. The wingspan, the end of the wing is actually touching the Terradrome. And then, he takes up a lot of real estate on the table. Kaiser said I used to have the Peter Jackson Kong line until my mom sold them. Oh no! Yeah, and again, Occam, thank you very much. Yeah, I was really pleased to finally get my hands on a Terradrome again, because remember, I had one. I had a lot of stuff that is part of what I lost when my stuff was stolen many years ago. Let me see. Andreas was about to. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Andreas? Andreas was going to ask about the Serpentor also. It's a really, really nice statue. And there's, I guess I answered that question already. Master wants to know what's the next Joel piece I'm looking for. Whatever I can get. But grail-wise, I would like to get my hands on a Defiant. I would love to get my hands on a Defiant again. Master said LPH is probably watching the stream. She was. I don't know if she still is. She was in here earlier. People were saying hi to her. Hello, Patrick. Thanks for joining us. Patrick, you're so late. You're so late to the game. What am I going to do with you? Dow wants to know, anyone managed to pre-order the 40th anniversary He-Man before the listing got taken down? Yeah, I heard a lot of complaining about that too. People were griping about that. Occam says, I can't find the larger cases for Ninja Force, Sergeant Savage, Battle Cores. What site do you order from? There's none on eBay. We use, a lot of ours came from Starcase. A lot of the packaging that we use to seal them up for the hang tabs and stuff, we use Starcase. LPH, are you still in here? What's the other company that we use? But we did a video on that too, if you can find it, because there's a couple of different companies that produce them. I know Zolo World also makes blister cases for action figures for hanging or displaying. With the Starcase though, I wouldn't order but one type at a time though, because they mix the orders up. Every time I've ordered from them, they screwed up the order if I order multiples, and then they have to fix it. Gilgamesh says minting complete means 100%. What came in the original box is 100%. They are not broke. I had a guy try to sell me a figure he said was mint after he glued the head back on. But for some reason, the raw sellers, they always do that. Okay, Andreas. I just wasn't sure. I want to make sure I was pronouncing your name right. I don't want to butcher it. Johnny says, where am I? Lost my place completely. Is it moving still? It's moving still. That's why I'm losing my place. Complete means even the instructions. I hate having to look around for instruction manuals. Yeah, and that Terradrome had all of the blueprints and file card and everything with it as well. But they do that. A raw sellers, a lot of them, they're like, oh yeah, it's mint complete. And it's like, where's the figure? Oh, we don't sell figures with our play sets. Well, what the hell? It's not complete then, jerk. Soundwave says that's a beautiful piece. You mean the Serpentor? Yeah, you should check out the unboxing. That was a lot of work too, because most statues, it comes out in like one or two parts. You got the base and the main piece, and you stick the hands or the head on. This thing had a ton of pieces, all little bits and pieces that magnetized in all over the place. Occam says, imagine everyone having a wife that buys you a Serpentor statue like that for an anniversary. You got one of the good ones. Yeah, LPH is a great lady. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. And plus, we enjoy the hobby together. We enjoy the hobby together, which really enhances everything. You know, we both collect. We do everything together. We work together. We work at the same place. We work out together. We go everywhere together. We do. Oh, I didn't go with her to her parents, but nothing against her parents. I just didn't go. I had too much to do. But yeah, we get along great. Yo Joe says, I'm in on the HISS. A lot of people were. It really jumped off. It really jumped off despite the naysayers. There was a lot of people that sat there and said, oh, that's bullshit, $300 for a HISS tank. You got to be kidding me. You only get the one figure, blah, blah, blah. And that wasn't true. First of all, it's two figures, again, because they were going to provide two if they reached 8,000 before July 6th. So there will be two figures and then the add-ons, although the reveal on the first tier doesn't look very spectacular to me. The rocket pods, I could care less, but it's an impressive looking vehicle otherwise. And then again, you have to consider that everything looks good in the pictures. Everything looks great in the reviews. It always looks that way. It's just like with the Haslab Sentinel. And then people got it and it was a flaw. A lot of them, the knees won't lock. So the figure kept falling over. It's like, I paid how much for this? And it keeps falling down. What the hell, Haslab? So until you get it in hand and you get someone who's going to do an honest review, you never know. Stone Sour says Defiant or a USS flag, not taking space into consideration. Defiant, I would prefer. I'd love to get a flag. LPH is trying to push me in that direction. She was like, yeah, I want you to have a flag. I don't know where the hell I would put it. I don't know where I would put a flag. And she said that it doesn't matter. Keep it in the closet. Put it in the storage closet and set it up whenever. But still. Let me see. Soundwave says the 40th anniversary He-Man is still showing in my pre-orders. Okay, good. Occam's Razor, the AVAC pilot, has his parachute too. Is his Cobra symbol on his chest mint? Yeah, and I show that when because I'm gonna do. I've already done it actually. I filmed it. We just didn't put it up yet. A tour of the Terradrome, and when we put it up over here and set it up and put the figures in, and I show the figure too. Yeah, his chest emblem is intact. Jared says, what do you think about Hasbro saying they won't make a hooded Cobra Commander? I hadn't heard that. I don't see why not. What's the difference? What difference does it make? I would make it. People are speculating that there's going to be a hooded Cobra Commander for the final tier on the HISS tank, but that wouldn't make sense because he wouldn't wear the hood in battle. Andrea says, that's great when a spouse supports your hobby. My wife hooked me up with 5 HISS tanks to complete my 5. Oh, okay. Is that how you ended up with 10? I know you said you used 2 different accounts. That's cool, though. Occam's Razor says, classified turned me off. I've cherry-picked for a few, but I'm not racing around town. Now pre-ordering, waiting a year for stuff. I'm 100% back on a raw vintage. Yeah, and that's what turned me off of the classifieds. I like the classifieds, and I started getting them. But between the Cobra Island exclusives that I could never get, the convention exclusives that were untouchable, and the reissue of the first 5 already in a different color scheme, that's too much artificial demand model salesmanship for my taste. And I was like, forget it. And they've got figures scheduled for the next 3 years. How many classified figures are they going to have? 100 more? They say it's racist. The hood's blue. It's racist. Cobra Commander's not racist. He hates everybody. But yeah, classified, I just got tired of them and I packed them away and I forgot them. I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to bother with them anymore. Master says, I'll keep an eye out for you on the USS flag. Maybe someone will send me one. Hey, that'd be great. I know. Pipe dream. You never know, though. Somebody sent me the Eagle One. Who saw that video? Right here. The Mattel Eagle One playset. And the figures are in here. My 1975 Mattel Eagle One. This came to the P.O. box from one of the viewers. Somebody just, and it was shipped from, oh, no, the door's acting funny. one of the viewers sent that to me from Canada. You can imagine what the postage must have been. I was just like, wow, I was blown away. People always tell you they're going to send you stuff. I hear that all the time. I must have like a dozen people a week saying they're going to, oh, I'm going to send you this, I'm going to send you that. Oh, thank you. They never do. So when you actually do get something, it blows you away. And I was just like, wow. And there's a story. Watch the video on that one because I have a story about the Eagle One and why it was a grail for me. So it was really important. Occam says you should get a flag build that lowers super strong. Oh yeah, like the GI Joe Berg did. Have you seen that? Yeah, and who else did that? There's another guy who did that too. I've seen that done a couple of times where they make the platform for the flag to rest on. Yeah, I have seen that. Jared says, I mean, it looks like a Klansman. Yeah, whatever. That's if they want it to look that way, that's what it is. Gilgamesh says, even if I stop collecting classified, I'll still get Shipwreck. He was always my favorite. Yeah, Shipwreck. Well, he wasn't a soldier. That's the argument I always have about G.I. Joe or Raw. They're more like mercenaries than Cobra is. Cobra's like an actual structured military organization. G.I. Joe's a bunch of random people. There's no uniforms. They wear whatever. Half of them aren't even in the military. Shipwreck wasn't in the military. They just found him in a bar. I mean, come on. Quick Kick got left behind filming a commercial, and they just picked him up and tagged him along. Yo Joe says Cobra's hood doesn't look like that. No, it doesn't. If they're doing that to try to be politically correct, that's just sad. It really is. It's racist if you want it to be. That you could, okay, Jawas are racist because they're wearing hoods too. Dow says I just checked my order history with Entertainment Earth and confirmed I got a Masters in the Universe He-Man 40th anniversary on pre-order. Okay, good. Johnny says they were very generous to send that to you. Yeah, every once in a while I get something like the Sid and Marty Krofft. I got the Sid and Marty Krofft figures. Who sent me that? Are you watching? Somebody who's watching sent me the Sid and Marty Krofft figures from Toy Island, which was also very nice. The whole set, 4 figures, and I used to have that set, so that meant a lot. And so did this. Not just because it's expensive, because the Eagle One playset is even loose is a pretty pricey piece of plastic. It's expensive, but that's not why. It meant a lot to me because there's a big story behind the Eagle One playset with me as a child and wanting that and why. That's it. Michael Mercy. I couldn't think of his name. Soundwave says Michael Mercy and Scuba Pete also have the flag displayed that way. Michael Mercy was the one I was thinking of that built that platform. Oh, Johnny's got to go. Sorry, Johnny. I probably should get off here shortly myself. I should go get something to eat. Gilgamesh says they'll make a hooded Cobra Commander as soon as the money is right. No kidding. Funko made a hooded Cobra Commander. It was a Bait store exclusive hooded Cobra Commander. Funko did it a couple of years ago. So what's the difference? Occam says even the Super 7 owner said that if he couldn't make Cobra Commander with a hood for his Ultimates, think it's stupid to think like that. Yeah, Cobra Commander wants to enslave all humanity equally. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's stupid. That's making it a problem. You're creating the issue so that you can act like you're doing something. I don't have any respect for that. Dow says maybe the next Haslab campaign will be Deep Six and the Shark. I remember the Shark. They used the Shark a lot in the old Sunbow cartoon. Johnny has sent us stuff too. Johnny Future. I didn't mean to forget you. He sent us some pieces that we have, some Hot Wheels and some other things. Those she has those Christmas Hot Wheels hanging right there, actually, that you sent a while back. And the Mad magazines, stack of Mad magazines I got sitting down here and cracked, came from Johnny. Um, yeah, Gilgamesh says people just seem to need something to be mad about. It's true. Everybody wants to be angry about something and point the finger, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Can't you just be happy? No. And you know what? Go ahead and be unhappy, but you don't have to make everyone else miserable too. You know, it's a shame that people can't just wallow in their own misery. They got to sling mud on everybody else, and that's what sucks about it. And that's why we don't do politics here very much. You know, I try to stay away from it. LPH tries to stay away from it. Our home and this museum are a sanctuary for us, and we're sharing that sanctuary concept when we do our videos. And so the social stuff and the political stuff, we try to hang it up, leave it at the door. If we get pounded with it all the time in all walks of life, you can't watch a commercial without an agenda anymore. And it's kind of sickening. It makes you sick to your stomach. And it's nice to be able to walk away from it for a while. You can't even get away from it watching sports anymore. They got to inject it somewhere. And we don't have any respect for that. You know, it's like, can we just forget it for a while? And we try to present that here. And every once in a while, something comes up, and we'll say something about it. But we try to just leave it right there and not dig into it too much. Yeah, Gilgamesh says misery loves company. At least that's what they say. Yeah, and they do, because they want to drag you down with them. And it's unfortunate. But, you know, hey, I'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, because it's we've been on for what? Almost 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes. Occam's Razor says, this channel, your home and museum, is your fortress of solitude, no politics. I like you keep the crud out, dig deep. Yeah, we try. Even our yard and the animals, you know, the stray cats that are back there, the occasional stray dog that we end up with that we take care of. You know, we just try to have it all encompassing, because you got to escape. You got to escape from it. You got to fast from it. Shut that news off and take a break. Master says, went to a local shop yesterday and wanted to do a trade for some hot toys, and they lowballed me with 180 credit for 2 of my hot toys, 90 each. I told them they were where's my figures? BS. That you can't sell. Toy shop, comic shops, even dealers at shows will do you like it's a pawn shop. You'll be lucky to get 10-15% on the dollar. You're better off trying to sell to another collector. Even Justice Curry, and I'll plug Justice Curry. He will give you 50% on the 50 cents on the dollar, because he collects it. He collects a lot, but he also resells to feed his collection, and he'll straight up give you 50 cents on the dollar. It's better than what you'll get in a comic or a toy store, because they'll just screw you. But anyway, yeah, Gilgamesh, enjoyed the show. Have a good evening. Thank you. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks to everybody who joined us this evening, or joined me this evening. Hope next time that we do a live, LPH will be back, which will be great. I miss her already. She's only been gone a few hours. But thanks for joining me, and I will see you all again soon.